Chapter 1 of Camp-Fire Girls in the Country, or The Secret Aunt Hannah Forgot. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Lee Ann Howlett. Camp-Fire Girls in the Country, or The Secret Aunt Hannah Forgot, by Stella M. Francis. Chapter 1 A Country Town 4th of July. It was the 4th of July throughout the Western Hemisphere, and in all other portions of the earth where the midnight second of the 3rd had ticked and passed. It was emphatically the 4th in the United States, including the eastern town of Fairberry, a municipality of some 3,500 inhabitants. On this day there were considerably more than 3,500 men, women, and children in the place, and a cosmopolitan gathering of country and town folk it was. Artisans, merchants, professional men, farmers, laborers, and their wives and children or sweethearts. It was a gala day for dress, millinery, chatter, peanuts, popcorn, lemonade, ice cream soda, toy balloons, bazoos, and squawkers. Everything but firecrackers, which had recently been legislated a national nuisance. The gathering place for this great concourse of every kind and description of humanity inhabiting the town and the country round about was the public square. And a typical public square it was. In the first place it was truly square, for it had been thus sited and staked by the original surveyor. And along the lines thus staked, representative business men and capitalists had constructed some 2,000 feet front of store buildings, which were occupied by the most cheerful aggregation of citizens in the town. In explanation of this characterization of these citizens, we must cynically observe that all of them had something to sell. This square boasted of one skyscraper, 3 stories high. Most of the other mercantile buildings were 2 stories high. This skyscraper was the pride of the town, a really well-planned and well-constructed building, with pressed brick south, front, and east side, located on the northeast corner of the square. The First National Bank occupied the first floor of this building. In the center of the square was the county courthouse, sections of which were occupied by officials of the municipality in lieu of a city hall. This building, a massive, turreted, pressed brick and stone structure in the center of a neatly terraced lawn, enclosed by a chain fence, had the distinction of possessing a town clock tower that arose to a loftier height than the skyscraper and rivaled the Methodist church steeple 3 blocks away as to loftiness above the sea level. The church, by the way, stood on a considerably lower site, or this rivalry would not have been possible. Well, the patriotic crowd moved here and there around the periphery of the square and back again, or around and around and around, while the peanut and lemonade vendors called out their wares and a phonograph over the entrance of a motion picture theater sung ragtime music to attract the attention of the amusement seekers. The more quietly disposed of the congregated populace, however, sought the restful convenience of the courthouse lawn or the refreshing protection of a dozen shade trees standing along the line of the chain fence. Others, especially the younger element, not quite so staid of demeanor, moved hither and thither, sometimes with the stream of gay-spirited and gaily attired humanity around the square, sometimes upon the lawn, where they would gather in social groups around the bandstand, and sometimes upon the battlement-like balustrades and porticos of the elaborate exterior of the courthouse. Among this younger element were 13 girls in khaki middy suits and light brown sailor straw hats, whom the whole town knew by this time as the full membership of the Flamingo Camp-Fire. These girls, for more than a week, had been visiting at the home of Mrs. Hannah Hutchins, an odd character past the prime of life, but withal a kindly disposed and interesting widow, who owned a considerable estate a quarter of a mile east of the city limits. To readers of this Camp-Fire series, the faces of these girls are at once familiar. They are the wood gatherers, fire makers, and torch bearers, whose
Sample complete. Ready to continue?